Hello, welcome to Jazz Is
Jazz's
MasterClass series
at the National Jazz Museum at the National Jazz Museum in Harlem.
I am Sekou McMiller, the curator of special projects.
My name is Albert Marquez, Zach O'Farrell.
My name is Shirazette Titten.
And we are in conversation with the legendary Bertha Hope. Jazz could only have happened here in America.
The key to everything was the radio.
So this world is too dense. 15 minutes isn't enough to cover it all.
Are you ready? I am.
Just stay with the rhythm, no counting. You pick a part of the song you're dancing to, you dance to that part of the song, you got into a communication with your partner, and then y'all just lived your life. And you just stayed. Welcome back to the Jazz Is MasterClass series here at the National Jazz Museum in Harlem. I'm Sekou McMiller, and I've been walking you through a jazz history tree, specifically Afro-Latin jazz dance. In this section, we'll talk about what happens when you take this dance and energy from Cuba and New York to the world. So during the Palladium era, mambo was a craze. And the way you learned it is you went to the club and you practiced, you studied, and maybe you asked your friend or your neighbor or your brother or your sister to show you the basic step, or you went there and you just studied it. And so I've spoken with so many dancers who actually dance there, and one of the questions I always ask them is, what was the first step that you learned when you were dancing mambo? And asked them for the basic step, and they didn't know what I was talking about. They're like, well, basic step, they're like, I learned a step, a variation of the steps, and they would show me these steps that later I have names for them now because of what happened between the Palladium and today. So back then, they would just dance on time. And so I said, oh, what beat is that? They're like, well, there's no counting, there's no numbers, you just dance on time, which I then found out in my translation, you just dance to the tempo of the music or the rhythm of the music, and you just stay consistent within that. And if the music changed, if that beat changed, if that fill-in or that pocket changed, you changed with the pocket. So some of the basic movements they did, like on movements of the tumbao. So if you hear them in the music, tu tu ba, boom boom ba, and if you count it, 8 and 2, 4 and 6, 8 and 2, 4 and 6, and the music feels much like the son montuno, but a lot faster. So tiki boom, tiki boom, tiki boom, tiki boom, even to the side, boom, tiki 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 boom, and they would go off of that boom. Tiki, sometimes the tiki was stronger, so you dance on that. Tiki, boom, tiki, boom, tiki, boom, tiki, boom. And they just stayed with the rhythm, no counting. You pick a part of the song you're dancing to, you dance to that part of the song, you got into a communication with your partner, and then y'all just lived your life. And you just stayed and sat there, and then when you were jumping to another part of the music, you made it clear that's where you were. Do 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 go do 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 do. Depends on what's happening in the music. You got in that music and you dance to it. So unfortunately, not everyone can visit the Palladium. And not everyone has a chance to grow up in a family who dances as well. But everyone wanted to do this. At the Palladium nightclub, everyone was there. You had superstars. You had the stars from back then, Marlon Brando, or the entire Brat Pack, Elizabeth Taylor. You had Jerome Robbins, who would later be a choreographer. You had Bob Fosse, who would come there and watch on the side and then go later, as the story goes, and go teach it in his classes. You know, you had all these people in there watching and wanting, but then also you had everyone who couldn't go to the Palladium, who never saw the Palladium, but then would see snippets of this thing and they wanted it. So you had all these people then going out to form like studios like the Arthur Murray Studios, who would then try and codify these dances and teach them to the masses and put counts to it. So they would take essence of what they saw from the Palladium and began to sort of try and teach it. So for a long time, we had this ballroom, Latin ballroom dance, where it was very much sterile in a way, because it was just the outskirts of the dance. So you just had to count 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. Actually, it was just count over and over again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you would lose that action that happens in the body, that response, because you're trying to get the people to focus on one thing. This response in the body came from having to survive the planets, like movement, having to survive the atmosphere, having to survive your mom or dad or your cousin or your uncle, or your sister or your brother, having to survive that action and also be cool while in the club, also be in your suit. So it really missed the style. Then came along Tito Puente. Tito Puente was is considered one of the most iconic features in Afro-Latin jazz. There's a guy, a dancer, Eddie Torres. I'm skipping forward because we only have so much time in this video, but I'll skip forward to Eddie Torres. Eddie Torres worked with Tito Puente, a musician, and then you had a street dancer and a musician working together to then codify differently from the ballroom studios. They codified according to Tito Puente's improvisation solos on the timbales. So they came up with movement that went to a lot of the runs that would happen in timbale solos. So they created a syllabus of movements in mambo that was directly related to the music. This wouldn't give you a surefire way of connecting to the culture, but at least it'll come from a place that's deep within the music and not just on the surface of what you might see at the club. So it was built directly from the music. And in this codification, they call it the Eddie Torres style. They introduced dancing on counts. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Came what they call now modern mambo. So now you go from dancing to parts of the music to dancing to a count which related to the music. So now you had a 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, dunka, dunka, di 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 ka ka tiki 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 ka tinka tinka kiki 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 ka ka tiki 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 ka. If you then codify dunka dunka from that moment, dunka dunka, maybe change it dunka dunka kiki 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 ku, and then you codify dunka dunka, kiki, 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 ku. So, we can go dunka, dunka, tiki, kiki, 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 ku. And so this could be a movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, 8. So now we're counting it. And so now you take that down, you pass that along, and now to this day, people are still using this 8 count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6, and 7, 8. And it became a known movement. And through codification, this was being able to share with people who didn't share the same backgrounds, who never stepped foot in Harlem or in Cuba, let alone in the Savoy Ballroom or the Palladium Ballroom, but yet they had a taste of what that was by having a musician who worked at the Palladium Ballroom and had a dancer who danced in the nightclubs to then put together the codification, to put together the vernacular of the movement that would be done. But that would only tell one part of the story because there was so much variety at a place like the Palladium nightclub that there was no way to encapsulate what that was, but it was a great way to give the world a taste of mambo.